Good evening, everyone. Thanks for that introduction, Betsy. And before I get started, can I say, wow, what a night. I can't begin to express the gratitude that I feel to share such an amazing space with such badass people celebrating such important work. And as we gather here to celebrate 45 years of leadership and advocacy, grit and determination that has resulted in such profoundly important victories on behalf of the environment and this community, let us not forget that it's the next 45 that will be most consequential. Let us not lose sight of the fact that EDC's most important work must lie not in the past, but in the future. And that's what gives me so much hope. Because you see, EDC has always been about the future, training and mentoring the next generation of advocates and activists, planting seeds of change and inspiration in the minds of young people for years. Indeed, I stand here tonight not only on behalf of EDC, but because of EDC. Roughly 2 decades ago, EDC hired an accountant, the first in her family to achieve higher education. That person happens to be my mom. And so for a number of years, I had a front row seat to all the action. And I remember being fascinated not only with the work that EDC does, but the amazing and compassionate people they did it with. And while a lot of time, hardship, and growth has occurred between then and now, that basic fundamental belief in myself that I could make a difference, that my time and energy could be worth something more than my own, that started with EDC. And while every person's story is unique, I know that in that regard, I am not alone. EDC's work with legal fellows and law clerks, interns and volunteers, the multitude of partners that EDC has engaged with over the years have all played a part in forming a new generation of environmental advocates, ready to meet the challenges of tomorrow. And oh, what challenges we have. We know that for too long, issues like environmental racism and representational diversity, equity, and inclusion have been neglected by the broader environmental movement. We know historically systems of elitism and exclusion have fostered sentiments of distrust among BIPOC communities, leading to a disconnect with the very people who are most affected by environmental outcomes. But we also know that this is changing, that new intersectional and inclusive ways of thinking and operating are at the fore of organizations' minds across the nation. EDC's legacy of fighting for clean water and clean air on behalf of disadvantaged communities is a solid foundation from which to build, to grow, to move forward, and to play its part in promoting new and diverse coalitions. The basic conviction that access to clean water, unpolluted air, and green spaces should not be a selective right determined by race or wealth, but rather a universal right, as important to freedom in this country as any other. This is what drives EDC in its commitment to meet people where they are, to do the hard work to develop lasting relationships. If you all recall, a little over 2 years ago, critical events during the summer of 2020 set in motion a racial reckoning that breathed new life into the fight for environmental justice. And as we gather here tonight to look forward to the next 45, I ask that we as individuals and as a community don't lose that fire, that burning thirst for justice that was so vogue 2 years ago. And while it's undeniable that we face unprecedented threats to the ecological and human health of our planet, as I look out across this courtyard tonight, I can't help but be filled with such optimism. Optimism that only exists with real possibilities. We have the tools, the people and science, the institutions to ensure that we protect our natural systems and provide for healthy, sustainable communities. And as I get ready to close out my time talking to you guys tonight, I wanted to leave the audience with this, particularly the young people. Don't ever succumb to that cynical or apathetic voice in the back of your head that says that you can't make a difference. Because as soon as we lose our will to fight the good fight, that's when the future is no longer bright. And as I'm buoyed by the legacy of EDC and the principles that have gotten us this far, as we draw inspiration from the past and look forward, I can't help but be optimistic. Thank you.